Fun fact about any past mutual explorations we've taken of XANDRIA's library of work in past situations and other album offerings, whether it be to the credit of The Wonder Still Awaiting or a selection of works from Neverworld's End, the Manuela publication, where she was a part of the group. Every time I pull up a track off of, it's void of a visualizer, and it's been, for the most part, at least with that last album, that was the case, it's always highlighted on my, at least on Windows devices, with the image of XANDRIA by default as a band group, with Diana front and center. So, to be fair to them, again, as I said in the previous video in our Journeys of XANDRIA, which has been quite a deep dive of different eras specifically, and there's been quite a versatility of lineup within XANDRIA's career. We started, as many of you know, again in the Amba Vuvahi's era, in present day with The Wonder Still Awaiting and then dug back. Though in advance I was thinking Sacrificium would be our history debut, but I thought to be fair, I had heard in advance Valentine before, but let's give Manuela as well equal presence. And I will say to the credit of any vocalist that has graced XANDRIA's leadership, who's become a favorite voice of mine within the German-based symphonic metal style, and in particular standout subgenre favorite of me in the metal territory, of which I've been active for many years as a devout metalhead, or metalhead rock enthusiast. Again, let's be inclusive to both extremes, because there is a natural intersection and a widened taste, I think, in terms of, I want to be as inclusive as I can here to anybody approaching, especially with new eyes to XANDRIA, if any of you have that vantage point, though I know many of you don't. And you're probably, as I said, enjoying this deep dive. I don't want to speak for you, but I did promise you it would be quite extensive, and I had been hinting at this for a long time, that we would be getting to the Diana era. I have been looking forward to it. Though again, Manuela, Amber, great in their own respects, and each vocalist has a unique styling format that presents them as their own individual performers, and I love each mutually as well. But Diana, real standout performer. One of the, yet again, another introduction in my growing appreciation for operatic metal extremes. There was a time in my life where I never thought I would say I love opera as much as I do now, but hearing it again naturally interwoven into many European metal-based groups, with some intersection maybe to a light operatic extreme of maybe it's departing countries as well from a light section of what I've heard, and of course an open door policy for anything else. If anyone wants to provide suggestions as to operatic voices abroad, I love more suggestions. I catalog every recommendation you guys provide me, of which XANDRIA was a light one in the beginning, but I'm grateful I went down that road, even if it was just one comment, of course connected to the bridge of consideration being Amba Vuvahi's with the Mortinia collab. That's what brought me into a love of XANDRIA. But in our evolving journey, oh my gosh, I have loved every step of the way with each vocalist, including Diana. To finally be at this point, I've been looking forward to it for so long, mostly with light exception to certain numbers, including Nightfall, which you just listened to for me. Again, I don't know what time we're on at this point of a replay, but it's still such a good listen. We're finally at that point. I've been waiting for so long to cover Nightfall, and to initiate thus with that song, our journey into not only continuing on the XANDRIA discovery of history, but our Diana deep dive, and we are going to take one. Ever since my first introduction to Nightfall and Call of Destiny, and any of the live performances I've seen with familiarized numbers to me via XANDRIA's library, I have fallen madly in love with her vocal capability. Spinto soprano, a singer, I believe not only a trained vocalist, certainly, and she's so incredible in terms of her pitch, it's just amazing to me, but I believe a vocal coach as well, Dutch bass, extreme capability. If you've never welcomed Diana, and you've not necessarily dived as deeply as I have, or as maybe some of us have mutually into the operatic metal territory, I think you're going to like this first encounter. I would highly recommend Nightfall first, though if you want to go in order of the album, that's okay too. We're going to be doing a survey of Sacrificium via 5 pieces, so it's going to be a good broad window to engage with Diana, with as well the follow-up album, I forget the name at the moment, Theater of Dimensions. That one is its subsequent follow-up. Understandably, if we're going to dive into XANDRIA history, why make that a missing chapter? And that one's, I think, going to be even a broader deep dive, but Sacrificium, I have been waiting to get to this one. In particular, with the title number of participation on a fresh impression witness. All the follow-ups to Nightfall are that. So the perspective you're getting from me in this case, post-Nightfall, and to most extents going on, is an introductory vantage point to exploring the works credited to Diana and her vocal employment, and blended to XANDRIA, she was the perfect fit. If it's just a fresh introduction for you, I think you're going to quite like this. Just on suspicion, and again, you might be thinking in your head, I'm not necessarily an operatic fan. How am I going to think of this? Be open-minded. Trust me. Just trust me. On faith. I think you'll like it. There was a time in my life where I would have said the same thing, but just don't humor that second voice. Just walk in with me on faith for our mutual encounter, whether it be, namely, I'm sure for many, speaking of in context, introduction basis, or if you are, again, aware of this piece and you're a familiarized XANDRIA fan that outdates me. Again, I want to keep us welcome to anybody because music is best enjoyed in company irrespective to extreme we approach. If you are walking in with open eyes and an open sense of familiarity, maintain open ears, and I think you'll like this. I love artistic deep dives. We do it all the time for artistic credits here. There's not been one song or artist I love humoring or introducing myself and perhaps you to as well. And again, I welcome anybody in approach, whether you happen to be a familiarized fan of Diana or, in particular, initiate listeners. I want you to feel at home here. Music is best enjoyed in company, and for XANDRIA's era with Diana, oh, I can just say on suspicion based on Nightfall it was something spectacular, and Call of Destiny to be fair, but let's explore some new numbers together. First listens for me, and perhaps for yourself. But I'm sure capable works. With the longest track on the record, in fact, 10-minute piece. A big ask, but one of promise. Even mood, symphonic dominance. I love the orchestral swing. I'm already in love again with the atmosphere. Soft build. Dramatic percussion work. Again, it feels like I'm in the middle of a symphony performance, doesn't it? Isn't it the simulation with symphonic metal that you often, if you have waited in, you like experiencing? I certainly do. Defined strings medley. If it kept at this pace, I'd find it fine. It's quite whimsical, too, of a piece. It's just like you're picturing it in front of you. Even flow. Really cinematic and epic sweeping work.
In this moment of life and death, on bloody fields,
the narration's a bit new.
in a forsaken desert, or an empty street, in a family's home, every place where love, hate, greed, belief, let men look into the barrel of a gun. You can take my life, but my vision lives on eternally.
Clear examination. The choir work here is... wow. Man. And to my knowledge, Diana hasn't even approached yet, so then a fourth position, this is all the choir and... wow. To soften the rhythm, too. What a great decision. Oh, I've been waiting for this. Interesting key flow. Just, man, the adventurism here. Man, I'm loving it. Perfect choices here, score-wise. We'll talk about it more in detail later. The distorted syncopation, too, on her voice is really interesting to see that definition. voices are like really cool right now. I'm totally geeking out on my element here. We still have 5 minutes to go, or a little over. And you know, with Xandria's career of past entrances, we do have these entrance pieces that are substantially longer. They're great footings into the projects. This is a mainstay for them. But 10 minutes is a substantial package. I love the lower tones, and I believe the masculine roles of the choir of a differentiation. Oh, it's such an even trait, especially after that pause. Good choice with the instrumental scoring. Differentiation of tone. But still a unified work, right? 100%. Wide scope, again, sweeping concepts. Here's our re-engagement. Still repressed a bit, controlled. Amplification again on the guitar work. Still that strings linger, though I love that again the symphonic cue is maintained. Still feels just as atmospheric, but metal traditional for sure, and certainly the voice of Xandria. Oh, our re-engagement is just beautiful, isn't it? Wow. The evenness of their scoring still amazes me again with those choir transitions, but that's one of the best sections I think I've ever heard from one of their numbers. Sacrificium is one of my top favorites. Or is it Sacrificium? Sacrificium, again, forgive me if that's mispronounced. But what an experience! The energy is, oh my gosh, it's just connecting with me so well right now on that riff. Wow. Here she goes. I saw a harder finish, but I'm totally fine with this. Wow. I did hear a light clip, I think, very recently from a posting she, being put up, I think it's one of her YouTube shorts, just advertising. I have so many Patreons to subscribe to for some of my favorite artists. Deanna's one I want to get to. I saw she did some Christmas tunes recently where I heard, again, her voice in isolation. That outro, man, the more I think on it, I was expecting, again, and on a harder note, think of the numbers past XANDRIA. And again, I have mentioned it lightly, but I've needed to, I think, reference it more. XANDRIA is some of the most epic finishes I've heard for some of their symphonic metal pieces. Again, they really stand out to me. This one's quite adventurous, though, to end on a soft note with isolation for Deanna's vocal credit. Oh my gosh. In score, it's freaking amazing. I'm going to lift a quote from one of you who expressed this in connection to Dynasty, when we were covering them, a power metal group from Sweden. Love their work. But one of you said on consultation in anticipation of waiting for my publication of The White that I was going to end up grinning like a Cheshire cat. And I did. Can I apply that quote here? Because I know I was all smiles the way through. This is a 10-minute glorious window of symphonic metal prowess, like at the height of what I love. The choir involvement here is top tier. The variation of extremes, the departures of role, and the isolation of effect and presence between the masculine, I think in the masculine lower tones, to me it came across like a very male register, again, the way that I heard it. And I've heard, choir isolations before, notably, let's say in church performances where there's been, I grew up Lutheran, for example, and we had a couple, I think, choir performances from time. I know we had a handbell choir, but no, I think we had variation on vocal extreme where, and even still today, I've been in church appearances for certain numbers where they've, maybe not necessarily my current church, well, maybe, lightly, if so, but probably in years past. But there have been songs that perhaps have been sung by the congregation with isolation on vocal role. This reminds me so much of that, where, again, I forget where exactly it's placed in the song. It's somewhere midway. You noted it when I mentioned it, because I specified, again, that differentiation, but the higher tones and then the lower drift separated. I have heard many choir extremes now in operatic metal. Notably, I would say of a Sirenia comparison, that one immediately comes back to I loved covering Sirenia to the same extent. Even though they, on recent publications, have not necessarily utilized a choir, I highly recommend Sirenia, by the way, if they're not familiar name to you, Norwegian-based Gothic-inspired symphonic metal, truly adventurous stuff. But again, on the choir note, that variation, the command, though, was XANDRIA. I love the interweaving. Sacrificium, what a great number to initiate in our journey of such a killer album. The invention on this piece, the sweeping score, again, the epic mood that you're introduced to immediately with the cinematic capturing, and the evolution on voice instrumentally, plus, again, it's a natural amplification. It starts soft, grows, and ascends in amplification before that power metal cue kicks in, and you're like, oh my gosh, it is just brilliant, right? Isn't that just like a perfect note to start on? And then it softens for Deanna to appear and interweave and balance with a number, and then once those chorus sections, and really any place she's in the song, her vocals are transfixing, whether it be on the melodic or the operatic extreme, that vibrato, she just hits it perfectly. I love her. That chorus section, putting her in the, I foresaw it being the opposition of roles, where maybe the choir would be the subordinate agent, and it's more so an equivalency where she's kind of the background, softer and slower vocal procession. Each word she says, I think it's on the I Will Live On line, I'm pretty sure. Good narrations, by the way. Again, a point of fresh approach. There's never been a spoken word interlude to the best extent I've heard of XANDRIA, at least of present witness. Again, an evolving journey survey of XANDRIA history, right? But maybe we'll broaden, I don't know. Well, based on this, maybe. Anywho, it might be an evolving journey, even more so than I forethought in the beginning. I have to go somewhere in a minute, so I'll think about it today while I'm presently engaged somewhere else, although I would love to stay and keep covering XANDRIA pieces on this album. Oh my gosh, the introduction is perfect. I get to listen to this in the car in a couple minutes again. I'm so excited for the reprisal journey. One of XANDRIA's most dynamic introductions. It reminds me a lot of how I felt with Reborn on the present offering, but as much as I love, again, The Wonder Still Awaiting as a collection. That was my intersection, and I've liked any piece I've humored on this channel, certainly a record of any artist, including XANDRIA, whatever era it might be placed in. But Sacrificium, what a brilliant introduction of a work. Really kicks us off in anticipation. I freaking love it. Masterclass of symphonic metal voice, in my opinion, again, to the operatic extreme, and a real symphonic dominance with that orchestral simulation effect. Even just on a recording. Me sitting here at home listening to it, not a live performance. Oh, live, that would be. Have they done this one live? I need to look at that and see if there's any recordings online. Oh, that'd be epic to watch. Oh, holy crap. That is an amazing tapestry. I love that number. I can't say much more than that. It's kind of a lost for words experience. I'm just madly in love with the voice of Sacrificium. And the album, given that this is, again, the kickoff track, just epic scoring. There is a reason, obviously, that people revere the Diana era. It speaks for itself, doesn't it? Her capability, plus oh my gosh, the scoring on XANDRIA's numbers really, it's perfect. It's a sweeping epic of a piece. The vocal variation, though, on Diana, and ending with that closure of isolation. Man, what a good choice. I love it. And again, I foresaw a harder outro. That's been the case of sessions past with XANDRIA. Even like Nightfall, for example, it's still amplified on voice. What an interesting change. I love it. It's a perfect album initiator and study of development for fresh experiences with XANDRIA. Oh, I cannot wait to go further with all of you. Of course, I would love to hear your thoughts down below. And if you are not necessarily an operatic fan first and foremost, did this win you over? I think there's potential. I don't want to speak for you, but man, I love it. Of course, whatever vantage point you take, whenever you happen to be re-engaging with this piece as a familiarized listener or initiate perspective, again, I welcome everybody. I want you to feel at home here as we enjoy very capable work together. What is your perspective? Holy crap. I wish I had more adjacency in terms of personal tastes. Again, any metalhead knows this is a bit of a niche space in how we welcome it. In terms of, like, let's say personal company, I have no connections interpersonally with anybody that I know. It's with you, all of you, that we're exploring great work together that does appeal to mutual taste, right? You fill a void, especially on first introduction names, and you provide so many. XANDRIA was that, at least by one comment at one time. And I quickened it in part because, again, of that original Mortemia discovery. And I've explored different eras of their tenure. And I don't like to compare things. I don't want to risk shortchanging past comments I've made or what I also have a definitive love for. And I love XANDRIA in any placement, any work I've experienced from them thus far. But the Diana era is quickly shaping up to be my favorite. Certainly on anticipation, I am excited for the future. And what a track to launch us in. Not only with Nightfall's credit, I thought that one was great. And it's a beautiful piece that I absolutely am devoted to. Sacrificium. What a work. Thank you so much for watching this video. Before you bounce, feel free to drop a like and comment, subscribe to this channel with a ding on the bell, and share this video with your friends. And consider checking out the description here. There you'll find links to my other channels, as well as addresses to my other social media accounts and ways you can help support my work if you feel so inclined. May God bless you, and looking forward to when our paths cross again.